Okay, we are live.
Good evening, everybody. We're just going to give it a couple minutes here before we get started. If you are live with us, please let us know where you're watching us from. And for those of you that will comment about me being blurry, I already know that. I am not at home this week, and so my internet's a little bit slower than what it usually is. So I might be a little bit blurry. But if you're live with us, let us know you're watching us. Say hi, give us some hearts. Please help share. We have an awesome show for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking about growth, whether that's in your personal life, in your career, or just your mindset. We're going to be talking with our guest, Sheng Elizabeth Lor, today about that. So we hope that you guys will kind of take away some of the things that we'll be sharing. So, hi, Mr. Eric. Hi, Banksy. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for tuning in. But we hope that you guys will take away some of the things that we'll be sharing and, apply what you can. So, again, if you're live, say hi. Let us know where you're watching us from. Help share. And we'll get started in a couple minutes here. Callie, can you hear all the background noise from me?
No.
Okay. Oh man, I'm so blurry. Sorry guys, I know I'm a little blurry today. I'm hoping that it'll kind of gain focus as the show goes on. Hi Peachy Her, how are you? Oh, let's see. I'm gonna share onto my personal here really quick, and then Kelly's gonna finish up and we'll get started. Let's see here. All right. So while Kylie's doing that, we've got some updates. Obviously, we've got the Love Vault happening still. We are still looking through applications and trying to match people. So Callie and I will probably be spending the next couple of weeks reaching out to those that we found matches for and try to get some more recordings in. And then we've also have our Finding Love series. Our application is still open until the 16th or 17th of this month. So there's still plenty of time. We have been getting a lot of applications in, and we are slowly looking through them because it takes a lot of time for us to really, narrow down the amount that we have down to like the couple that will reach out to you and interview to make sure that this is something they're doing, that they want to do. And I know that we had put a post out there about if we were to bring back one of the bachelors, who would you like to see be that person? And so if you have not commented yet, please go in and comment who your pick would be. We would be reaching out to them, of course, to see if this is something that they're interested in doing. I know that when we had interviewed a lot of them after the show, most of them said that this is not something they would be interested in doing. But if we get enough of you voting for them and commenting, we will be reaching out again to say, hey, your fans are really wanting you to come back, and see what they would say. So there's that. So if you know anybody who is single, please continue to tag them and share the video and let them know that, we are looking for a bachelor. So we're looking for a guy this time. So tag all your single guy friends and make sure that they apply. And if you guys have any questions, if there's enough questions popping into our DM, we'll come back and do another live to answer any questions you guys may have. But Callie and I will be keeping you guys up to date once our application process. Obviously, we're probably going to be pushing out an application for the contestants as well pretty soon here. But we want to make sure that we do select a bachelor first before we go on and do that. So I think that's it for updates. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started then. Tonight's show, again, we're going to be talking about growth. in career and professional, personal, um, pretty much just growth overall as a person from, I think for us it's like so much changed how a like right to like where we are in life today, whether that's with our education, our personal growth, or just our professional careers on how did we get to where we are today. And we hope that we can share some things with you guys along with our guests, and we hope that you can kind of take away what you will and apply those.
Yeah, so we have joining us today Sheng Lor, and she is a founder, host, and executive producer of the Social Exchange Project, a podcast aimed to elevate people in arts, education, and social activism. Her podcast won second place for 2022's best local podcast in her area in Wausau, and so we're super proud to see among women just really doing great in podcast world. She's intentional about promoting people of all backgrounds from marginalized groups, especially the Hmong community. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology, human services, and sociology. And when she's not working as a social worker, she's giving back to her community in various ways. And she's always hosting lots and lots of great events. If you follow her on Facebook, I don't know how that woman sleeps or when she sleeps, but she is really, really involved, and that is really, really cool to see. So with that, we're going to bring her on. Hi, Sheng.
Hey.
Hey guys.
How are you?
I'm good. It's 9:10 p.m. here.
I know. Thank you so much for making time for us. We know it's a little late there, and I know with our show being a little later in the evening there and trying to get people on, there's always like a time difference. I think the only time, I don't know if we've had a guest on recently that kind of shared the same time zone as we do, like just them and us.
No, it's usually, I feel like we usually get for people all the way. Like, I don't know why we don't have more California people.
I'm honestly good. I'm such a night person, so I'm good. Like I feel like I thrive the most and the best at night. I'm like a night owl anyway, so this is prime time for me.
And you look great.
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight. Thank you for making time for Callie. And I know we talked a little bit. We've been trying to get you on for like the last 2 years just because we do similar work, and it's always so nice to like see other Hmong women in this space, and creating a space for us to kind of talk about all of the important things that impacts us and our community. So we love this sisterhood. We love connecting and supporting. So just thank you so much for being on with us.
And oh my gosh, thank you both. Like it's been insane. I feel like we started our platforms at like similar time periods. And I remembered us all like just going into, I think it was like a Facebook group. And I was so new and I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing half the time. I go with energy, I guess. But I remembered all of us just sharing about like tips and tricks and how to engage people. And I followed you all right away when Sheng was still a part of the show too. And so your growth has been exponential. You both are killing it out here. Like, let me tell you, you are killing it out here. So I'm honored to be here, to be honest. Thank you for having me.
And I see that we have Spoiler Force podcast as
yes.
well us in the audience. And so that's really great to see. Yeah, like you said, I feel like I just love seeing so many people in this space now. And like I think that gives us a voice, and different types of voices too, right? I think the things that your podcast is on and the type of topics that you bring attention on is very much needed. So is a lot of people that, are now doing podcasts and shows and things like that.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like when I first started, and I don't know, I feel like we talked a little bit about this, Red, but like sometimes it's just going with like you first start out and you're just trying things out.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of that. I started out with my friend Addie, and we're like, well, we just have really cool friends in our lives. Why don't we just like make this a fun, casual thing? And then it grew into something like bigger. And that's like where that growth comes into play, where it was trial and error. But I think what remained true and will always remain true is that I just like love people. I'm like obsessed with people and their brains. Like people's brains are the most attractive thing to me, honestly. Mm-hmm. And that's what I learned throughout this entire journey and all other aspects of my life too, is that when you sit down and just have a conversation with somebody, and I'm a talker and I've been working on not talking as much and listening more. But when you listen more, you learn so much about a person, and then you learn more about yourself through that person. And so that's been really my journey. But when I first started, when we first started, we didn't know what we were doing. We just we didn't prepare questions. We had no idea that we should have been doing research on. And I'm much different now, yeah, I'm really proud of what I built, but it's been growth. So if we're talking about growth, that's been one huge area of my life that I've learned so much more about who I am, what I want to do, the types of things I want to impact in my community and people. And so I'm very grateful for my podcast, as I'm sure you both are too. It's just been life-changing. So
it's definitely a learning curve. I think there are so many things that we've learned over the last 2.5 years from just like Cal and I talk about this all the time, but it's just like technology in itself, like the equipment we need, learning how to edit videos. It's like before this, I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And I think just through, the show that we have, I think just like the growth in just ourselves and our skills that we can apply in our professional careers too has been tremendous for me, at least. Like I'm not as afraid to talk to people anymore because we have to reach out randomly to strangers we've never met before, right? And then we have to then talk to them and then interview on the show, and then we become really good friends with people. And so I think Kelly and I are just really like big people. Everywhere we go, it's almost like we can connect with people instantly and so easy that it's just, this show just kind of gives us more of a space to do that too. And I love that. So
yeah, agree.
Lots of growth.
Yes. All right. So we kind of have a format again. We will just kind of go down the line, but if we veer off a little bit, this is a great space for us to do that. And so
speaking on the other side, let me tell you, it's weird.
For sure.
Awkward.
And so speaking of growth, when you think of yourself when you were 18 years old and looking at, who you are now as a person, how do you think you've grown?
Oh my gosh, I grew so much even as of last year. When I was 18, I'm still a hot mess, but when I was 18, for sure, I was just, when you grow up in a Hmong family, you kind of have a couple different identities. I feel like you want to be that Hmong child that your parents, who are so critical, my parents are really critical, you want them to be proud of you, so you go through school, you got good grades, and you did everything that you could to please them, and at 18, that was when I was always kind of the rebel of the family. Ask any of my siblings, I don't know if they're on right now, but I was like, oh my gosh, you're such a, you're so sassy, you're so this and that. It's I was really trying to explore who I was and what I wanted to do. And, I was always a people person, and my parents were so strict and I couldn't go and do anything. But when I was 18, I was like, I am free. I can go to college and just be free,
Yeah.
And so I felt like a couple of my identities clashed with one another. I wasn't that perfect Hmong daughter. It was I'm gonna explore myself now, Mom. I want to go do something. And a lot of her parenting was fear-based parenting, because they're products of trauma. And so a lot of it is they want to protect you. They don't want you to go through what they've gone through. And so they're just super strict. And I felt very limited in my opportunities and what I wanted to do with my life. And so when I was 18, I went to college and I just did everything. I was finally taking classes that I've never had access to before. I met people that I've never met before, or been in social environments that I was super uncomfortable in. And I just grew even at 18. And I was always that person to ask everybody questions about I wasn't afraid to be that weird, awkward person. I still am that person, but I would always just sit and ask them a lot of questions about themselves, because I was so fascinated by their life. Because I was I'm making it seem like my parents were so horrible, because they're the absolute best parents, but they were just so strict. I was learning vicariously through people, Yeah. And so at 18, I was still very naive and very I just never went through those any traumatic, crazy experiences at all, And to now, it's I still have that naive type of mindset where I ask people lots of questions about themselves and what their passions are. And again, brains are attractive to me. But then now I feel I've built myself a lot to a point where I feel really centered and I feel really like just whole with who I am in this moment. And I know there will be growth, but like who I was back when I was 18, even who I was last year, like I'm not that person anymore. I appreciate and I love that time in my life, but I'm in a new like space where I'm just like, I'm continually growing, but I'm also super present. And I love my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I went on a tangent there, but yeah, I am
No.
definitely very different from when I was 18 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I shared this recently that I was I think I feel like I've shared with multiple people, so it still feels really fresh. But when I was 17, like I moved down to Georgia and lived with my aunt. And like looking back, I'm just like, I can't believe I did that, like, and I was the only girl too. And so it just is crazy that I even did that, and so I feel like a lot of it, like I'm just like trying to channel that 17-year-old girl again, because I went, and I remember halfway to Georgia, I remember my dad said, if you want to turn back now, we can. It's okay, but like I'd already made up my mind, so I was not going to turn back. And I remember because the year before, two of my boy cousins from Wisconsin actually went to Georgia. They were going to do the same thing, but they lived in Wisconsin where there's like a lot of, I think a lot of Hmong people. So they were really used to that. And so when they went down to Georgia, I think it was a hard transition for them because there's not as many Hmong people and people don't get together as much. And so, knowing that, I think that made me just be like, I'm going to stay, like, because they can't do it. I got to do it, like I got to stay and I got to get my Hope Scholarship. Because if you're there for like a year, then you become a resident and you can get your college pretty much paid for. So that was one of my selling points to my parents of letting me even go down there. But when I went down there, it was just like, I guess I felt like I had this plan of what I thought my life is going to be like, and so I think that that's what like really drove me. And I would say like for the past 3 years, I did feel like I kind of lost purpose, like with my divorce and everything. And so just because again, I had this plan, you have this plan and then the plan doesn't turn out. And then now you're like, okay, I have no idea what the plan is. And I'm a person that needs a plan. If I don't have a plan, I don't know what I'm doing,
No, I don't think so.
I feel, yeah, like Olivia knows this, I'm a very structured person. And so it's like, if I don't have structure, I don't really know how to exist, And so I think the past 3 years has been me like figuring out like, okay, now what is my plan? Like, what do I actually want? Like what do I want with my life, and then I think I've been going back to just that same goal of like, what I was trying to achieve when I was 17 and moving down to Georgia. And Tony says Georgia is lame. If you think Georgia is lame, you should go to North Carolina. I love North Carolina, mind you, but Georgia was really big change for me. Like the high school was like really diverse compared to North Carolina. It was just a bigger city. I remember like it was like 6-lane highways, and I just remember like, I mean, when I did my driver's license test in North Carolina, I didn't even have to do a 3-point turn because we didn't have 3-point turn. Like it was a really small town, you know what I mean? And so when I went to Georgia, it was a big city for me, and I had to learn a lot of different things and go through a lot of things. But when I look back, it's just like, gosh, like I feel like that really happened for a reason, and I needed to grow. Otherwise, I would be in North Carolina probably my whole life, and been happy and stuff. But I would have that's where my life would have been,
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, it was more of just like being hungry for things because I wasn't given a lot of those opportunities, like my dad passed away when I was very young. So growing up, obviously we all know we're Hmong, like growing up in the Hmong community without a parent, especially a father, can be a little difficult for some. And those some people were me. And so I feel like just kind of like knowing that I wasn't given a lot of things, plus growing up poor, that also made a really big impact on me as well. And so just like feeling like, God, like I don't have all these opportunities and I really want them, and always trying to like fight for things and like, whether that's knowledge or promotions or whatever it may be, I just feel like I've always been that. And I saw Linda Vang, I saw your comment about you grow differently, stages of your life. It's different. The growth is different. Absolutely. But I still feel like the the foundation or the thing that ground me the most in my growth is just the fact that because I want to grow, I'm looking to grow. And Sheng, I agree with you. Like the person I am today is different from the one from last year and the one before that and the one before that. I think we continuously grow every single day, whether that's because we learn something different or a different skill set, or we just discover things about ourselves that we're like, oh dang, I didn't know that hit me differently this time than it did last year, because the space that we're in today is different from the space that we were in yesterday, or the
you just don't hear stuff until you hear it. You just don't
exactly
believe in things until you believe in it. Or like you
yes
see people go through experiences like, Callie, you talked about your divorce. Like these things are huge milestones in your life, and you had this entire like set vision of what all these milestones were going to look like. You get married, you buy a house, you have children, and so on and so forth, and those things are totally fine. Like people like there's value in that. People want that, and people have that, and that's fine for them. That's what I thought I wanted, and I don't know if that's really where I'm at. Like where I'm at is very present. I'm thriving every day. I really truly feel like I really try to have a growth mindset. Like I don't really say no to myself because of fear. Like I try to just say that, yeah, it's scary, it's uncomfortable, but like what's the worst that can happen? And then what's the best that can happen? And I didn't have this mindset like even a couple of years ago. And so going through really like traumatic, hard things, even though it's horrific, I'm so grateful for all of those things, because all the things that, like, I talked about my having like a different kind of like the way that I would be around my parents is really different from the way I might be around friends, or like might be different at work. I'm kind of the same person now in all environments, like for the most part. I might not be swearing like I normally would, like, in a public setting. I kind of do, but like, there's social differences in that. But like, truly, I feel like I'm kind of unchanged in all environments, because again, I've worked really hard on investing in myself and building my self-worth, and so my goals this year is I'd lost weight a couple of, for the last few years, I've been working on my physical health, which really helps with the mental, emotional health. And I need to get back on that. And then financially, like financial wellness and health is really important to me now too. Like I want to be able to learn about how I can, like, I don't aim to be rich or anything, but I want to be able to like make better choices financially, not feel like I'm a slave to debt or something, so I'm working on my student debt and my car debt and other things. And so those are my two main goals, because last year my goals were like spiritual, emotional, mental health. And I feel like I'm in a place where I can maintain that now. And it's not like learning. I mean, I'm still always learning new skills, but it's like, I'm okay there right now, And so, like, I think my parents are just like the best parents in the world. And I'm so fortunate that I have such a solid group of people behind me. And I feel like I'm giving like an award show, like, thank you right now. But like, to say this,
I mean, why not?
I don't know what I want.
And the award goes to my parents.
My hair's a mess. Also, sorry guys. I apologize for anybody who's watching me right now. It's 9:00, 9:30, so don't judge me. But like, I say all this because my biggest battle from like my entire life was within myself. Like it was never really external. Like my parents, and they had all these different pressures on me. Society has different pressures on you and things like that. But like it was always myself. And when I altered and changed my mindset and I actively put things into action, like it's so crazy. All these different life hacks that I learned, that it's like, it's just a small thing throughout the day and you go to bed without anxiety. You wake up and you're like excited for your day. Like there's little things that you just change about the way you're thinking or the way you interact with somebody, or even what you say to yourself. Like my inner dialogue is really different now too. And so it didn't just, I didn't get here just overnight. Like it was a long time of practicing all this stuff, but I don't know. It's been a good journey. And so,
I think we just grow differently. I think like, I mean, and I know Kelly, like when we went to like the Hmong women today, I had shared a story about like how growing up, because I always felt like I was being bullied and I always had to like speak up, And so my relatives will always say like, And I was like crying because it was so hurtful, right? But I think in the space that I am now, it's kind of like, if I wasn't like that, I don't think that I would be who I am today. Like, I don't think that I would be as successful as I am, as happy as I am, in my marriage and with myself and in my career. And so I'm thankful that I was like that growing up, because even though like it's okay, because it was more that they couldn't accept me for who I was, and didn't like me for the fact that I just didn't have a father figure. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it just really made me a lot stronger. And so I think like we just grow differently. And now that if people were to ever call me that, I'm just like, okay, cool, thank you. Like, it doesn't hurt me anymore.
Right.
Whereas
Yeah.
before, 10
Because you're
years
solid
ago,
here. You know what I
yeah, like
mean?
10 years ago, I would be like, I don't know, like swearing or like offended or crying. I don't know how my emotion was, right? So
Yeah.
it's just every year we continue to grow every day. And, I think that we should always strive to grow regardless.
I think
Yeah.
lived experiences are so important. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just going through things like teaches you more about like the way you like the person you want to be, and I'm sorry I cut you off, Callie, but like, yeah, like I just feel like all of the experiences, good and not so good, they were
Yeah.
just incredible. Like, I'm not sitting here with you two because of like, if I changed anything, I wouldn't be here,
Yeah.
and I know this sounds cheesy, but it's so true. Like, I'm just so present and so happy to be where I'm at right now. And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's
love that.
awesome. Yeah, like I think one of the things that I've been working on is that like if someone says something that like bothers me, I've been trying to like reflect on that and see like why am I bothered by that? Like am I bothered by that because a part of me feels like it's true, Is there something inside, right? Because like if somebody says something to you about you like that you don't care about, it would never even faze you, right? Because you're like, what the heck? Like that's not even true.
Yeah.
But I know that I take a lot of things personally and I take a lot of things and process them, even when it's like completely crazy, bogus, like what the heck? Like that makes no sense at all. And so that's one thing that I've been kind of just working on and like trying to reflect on, like like for instance, I feel like I'm like super independent. I'm not like a princess, and so last year I was at this wedding and my parents had said to somebody, or my brothers had said, oh, like she's a total princess. You have to do, like you have to cook and you have to clean and like you have to do all these things for her, and it's just like, dude, like, I live by myself and I own a house. Like, how do you think that gets, like, how do you know what I mean? And it definitely did like make me feel like, dang, like I feel like I don't ever ask anybody for anything. Why would someone say that? Why would my family say that about me? And so then I had to kind of just reflect on that and be like, you know what? Like that's not even true. Like I live by myself. I like don't feel like I'm if I'm a princess, I'm the prince and the princess. So I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like I'm buying my own stuff, so I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. And so it's just stuff like that yeah, I feel like has come with my own maturity of just like trying to reflect and trying to figure out, and then also recognizing that I feel like a lot of times people say stuff to you that they have an issue with on themselves, like that's whether that's like their own insecurities. And I definitely feel that, when people have wishes for me, I feel like that's their insecurities that they're wishing on me, right? Like they're scared I'm going to be like alone forever. So they wish that I would get, married or like be with somebody when it's just like, those are your wish and like that's okay, but like I have to figure out what it is that I need for myself. So I think it's just, and at the end of the day, like nobody cares about you as much as you think they care about you. Like the world doesn't care about you, so you should just do whatever it is that you want to do.
Also, at the end of the day, nobody cares about you the way you'll care for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I keep bringing back like my parents, like I think it's just the pressure sometimes of being in the Hmong community, right? Like, like that it's like sometimes like because you represent your mom and dad, and then, you know, they represent you. And Olivia, like, thank you for sharing about your dad and stuff. Like, it is a status thing. And so everyone's struggling the same, and nobody wants to really talk about it. But it's easier to criticize somebody else because it is a true reflection of like your own areas that you want to work on, or your insecurities and things. And I don't think, like, I was watching this video. I forgot who posted it. It's a famous Hmong singer, a Hmong artist. I think it might have been Surprise. It's his birthday today. I don't know. I'm doing a shout out to Surprise. I think it was him who posted it, but it was like a video of like how the Hmong community, and sometimes just not all, but like, you know, oftentimes you get berated or you get criticized a lot because the expectations are really high. And, you know, there's so many aspects of our community that I'm so grateful for, but that is one thing I don't think that we need to have like any longer. Like, you know, people struggle the same. And so I think like criticizing somebody in hopes that they're going to do better is like not how it works. Like, you just make them feel worse about themselves, and then they believe that, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know. And so like I don't believe in that at all. Like, I'm really huge on like positive reinforcement. I'm really huge on positive, unconditional positive regard. Like, you know, having expectations and having structure, and you know, having like those types of things is fine, but like believing in your child and other children and respecting like them and treating them like human beings, and not like criticizing them in hopes that that's going to help them achieve more. Like, that's one area I think, like, I don't see it as often anymore, but that's how I was raised. So I am speaking about that because my mom and dad, they would always, that's the way that they wanted us to, you know, that's how they were treated, you know? And so like, we're not like that anymore, my parents, and we have such a healthy, loving relationship. But growing up, it was like, well, do you want to like be poor forever? Do you want to be smart? Like, you should be doing this and that. And so there was a lot of pressure there all the time. And that's where I was talking about that identity part, where I let go of that. Like, I am who I am. I'm so proud of who I am. And there's so many areas I'm still going to continue to work on, but it's not up to anybody else to tell me that, you know? And so
I love that. Yeah. I think one of the things that I have been trying to like work on just for myself for the last like couple of years is just setting boundaries for myself. Like, what can I accept and what can I not accept? And then really like put my feet down and say, no, I'm not going to deal with that. Right. And that's like with family too, because I feel like I work really hard so that I can give to people that I love. And sometimes when you give too much, like, people either take advantage of you for that, or they just don't think that you care because, you know, you don't express that you care, but you do. And so I think just like setting those boundaries of like, no, this is not okay, or no, I'm not going to give you that, or no, I'm not going to do that today, has really helped me. And also like getting rid of like negative energy around me. You know, I felt like the last, I would say like 5 years, I've been really trying to focus on including family members, where I'm like, nope, not today. I'm not going to go to your Ornang. I'm not going to show up to anything because you are like nasty and I don't want any of your energy around me. And it was hard at first, you know, because, you know, you got my mom in one ear and you've got like my in-laws in one ear, and then you've got like my husband going like, are you sure you don't want to go? And so then sometimes you like kind of question yourself on like, is this the right decision for me? Like, do I really want to cut these people off? But I think at the end of the day, it's like you said, no one cares about you as much as you care, like for as much as you care about yourself. And I think for me, it's like my mental health is so much more important than any of these freaking people. Like, like, you are alive today and they don't even care about you. They will come and cry their asses off when you're dead to save face. And I don't care. I'm already dead. But today, I'm not going to care. You know, like, you can do whatever you want. I will not associate myself with you unless I really have to, and I can't get out of it. But I think that was really hard for me. It was so hard for me at first because I did feel sad. Like, you know, like, yeah, you changing on, and why do you have to like do that? You know, but at the end of the day, I realized that I love myself more. And the people who really, really love me, they would never say those things or do those things to me. And so I would rather spend my energy on the people who truly love me than energy on these fake people who pretend to love you because you are family. And that's the only reason why. But, you know, they don't call and check on you. They don't do anything for you. So, you know, I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I could have done for myself that saved me so much like heartache, headache, and just energy in itself. And I've gotten rid of a lot of that. And I love that I can be so like happy about things that I am now, you know?
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
everybody should work on getting rid of negative people and energy in their life.
I agree. Like one of the biggest life hacks is for me, I follow energy. Like if it's
Yeah.
somebody or something or whatever entity it is that brings me value and joy and happiness, that's where I go.
Yeah.
And anybody, like I'm very good at this now, like where even if it's a friend, like I've done this, like definitely in the last like couple months. Like if it's a friend that I feel is toxic to me, they're not a toxic person. It's just that they're right now they're in a place where it's toxic to me. You know,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
just say I need a break, and they love me and they'll respect those boundaries because maybe it's too much drama or it's too much stuff going on. Like I don't spend my energy like that. My energy
Yeah.
is currency to me. Like the way
Yes.
my
Yeah.
energy, that is so important to me. So if it's somebody draining me, a situation, a job, whatever it is that's draining me, I don't care if they're my family, my best friend, like I have just learned that like I need a break, or you know what, like we need time to just like reassess, like, you know, our relationship even. And
Yeah.
I try not to be that for somebody else. Like I work
Yeah.
really hard. And if somebody does say like, you know what, it's been draining to be around you because of X, Y, and Z, like I respect that, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously I hope not to be that person, but sometimes like I'm that person. Like sometimes I'm going through some tough things and it's draining on somebody, you know. And
Yeah.
so like that's just been one of my biggest life hacks is I follow energy now. And it's not about the person, it's not personal sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
And it's okay to normalize that because you need to
Yeah.
protect your mental health. In order
Yep.
for you to thrive and grow, you need to be in a space that's like safe for you to do
Mhm.
so, you know. And I'm not in like a survival mode anymore, like I'm thriving now. And those are the life hacks that I've learned too, is that if somebody's like giving me expectations that is meant more for them than for me, like I don't do that, you know. I'm living my own like life. And I was telling my friend this like yesterday or the other day. Actually, it was Monday because I was going on a rant on the phone, so I remember it was Monday. And I was telling him like, you know, sometimes, you know, the things that I'm doing, it's not for everyone. Like the things I'm doing in my community, it's not for everyone, but it's for me, you know. And like I get a lot of criticism like how come you're not doing enough for the Hmong community? Why aren't you doing this? Well, you're doing this for, you know, the Black community or the gay community, or you're doing this for white people, let's say, you know, but why aren't you doing it for the Hmong community? And it's like I sometimes will think like, am I doing enough? And then I'm like, I am doing enough. Like look at all the
Yeah.
stuff that I'm doing, and it's
Yep.
for me. It's how I want to make change. And if that individual feels as best through politics or feels as best through whatever it is that I should be doing, which I don't want to do, then they should do it. You know, if that's
Yeah.
what you're envisioning is going to elicit real change, then maybe that's your path, but it certainly is not mine. And so I'm just huge on not like telling people what they ought to be doing. I'm not huge on like, you know, I just really live and let live. Like I think everybody has their own journey, their own path. Like whatever they want to do is so beautiful for them, and wherever they're at in their life is so great for them. And like I just try not to be somebody that will pressure them, and I don't accept that either. And that to me is toxic, you know. So
Yeah.
I measure everything healthy, happy, or harm. Like if it's
Mhm.
harmful, done, you know, for us right
Mhm.
now, done. But if it's healthy and happy, that's where I go, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how I truly feel like my energy is parceled out great because of that reason. So
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that's I think growing up and watching our parents like bend over backwards, because I definitely feel like my parents, you know, bend over, right? Like it's like if anybody comes and asks to do something, right, then they have to do it. And my grandpa was a shaman, and so I know he gave a lot in that way, and my parents gave a lot. And so I feel like you grow up feeling like you have to say yes to people all the time. And I
Yeah.
think it's just now, like as an adult, like learning to say like actually that doesn't make me happy, or that, you know, like I can't do that, you know, otherwise I would have to like, you know, mess up my whole schedule, or like, you know, like be really rushed or really push to try to do something that pleases other people. And so I feel like having to like unlearn that, and like the people pleasing, right, and feeling like you have to make everyone happy. And now it's like, okay, like if it's gonna mess me up, I'm just not gonna do it. So it's definitely been like a hard journey to watch our parents and then try to unlearn a lot of those things.
Yeah. It definitely takes time. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about like careers, right? So career wise, where did you think you would end up from like when you were 18 to like today? Did you think that you would have a podcast?
I didn't even
that
think I was going to have a
online
podcast
thing?
2 years ago. I don't know. I honestly went through a lot of different, like I said, I explored a lot, like in terms of what I wanted to do, and it was always centered around people. Like I wanted to do therapy, I wanted to do like therapy counseling, and then I was like, well, maybe I kind of want to do like social work, which is what I'm doing now. It's all centered around people. But everything that and actually at one point it was like, I just want to be like Britney Spears, you know. That was not at 18, by the way. That was not 18. But it was like it was always like creative or around people who are creative or around like places where I can grow. And um like a lot of my career has been pretty similar. Like when I graduated college, I was doing a lot of like psychological, like positive psychological research. And I was like, I think I want to research people. Like it's so interesting to learn people in different environments and what they do. And, you know, I had done a lot of different kinds of research to explore that area of what I wanted to do. But positive psychology was something that stuck with me, like optimal functioning, like true happiness, like, you know, like all of these things. And so we did a gratitude journaling among couples, like committed relationships, among people in committed relationships. And one of the things that I learned through that is like just showing gratitude for 5 things a day that your partner does for you. Like you become present and it rewires your brain a little bit. Like you see those little things that your partner does for you, you know, and therefore you're a lot happier and more satisfied in your relationship. And that's kind of what propelled me to continue onwards. Like I definitely want to keep spreading positivity and being in spaces where I can help people. So I did like case management for our state welfare program. Like it's just a lot of different areas. And so I just recently transitioned into a new role, but I work for our county. It was in the behavioral health unit doing mental health and working with adults with substance use and things. And I absolutely loved that role. It was so fulfilling to me. I knew I always wanted to help people with like mental health, you know, and I'm huge on like trying to find accessibility, affordability for mental health. Like that's still something I'm fighting for and working really hard to do. But in my current role right now, it's family services and it's taking like APS and CPS reports. And it's just like my role is so different. Like knowing that like I'm that person that somebody can call and say, hey, I don't feel this family or this child safe. Like I love what I do. Like just, I mean, sometimes it's egregious reports, but most of the time it's like we have systems in place that's going to help this family and get them to a better, like, you know, like we don't, we like even the maltreater, like we try not to say like that they're like just horrible people. Like they're people in pain who are hurting and they're hurting others. And so we're trying to like provide them resources and services so that they can be better parents or better caregivers or whatever that situation is. And so I absolutely love what I do. But in terms of just like other aspects of things, like I'm huge. I know, Callie, you know this about me. I'm so huge on creativity, like spaces where people can create and like not have a bots kind of way of thinking. Like I'm huge on that too. And yeah, I mean, when I was 18, I certainly was not thinking I was going to be in this place right now. Like I didn't even think at all that I would like be like this happy. Like I always thought it was just like, yep, you go through these stages and I was always like happy, but I wasn't like truly thriving, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, career path wise, I think moving forward, even I don't know where I'm going to be. And that's kind of the cool thing, you know, I'm just going to follow whatever makes sense. I sound like just like a free spirit right now, which is crazy because I'm also really structured too. My calendar is like to the.
So you're trying to tell me that you don't have like a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal from now about like where you want to be?
I used to have that. I did. Like I'm telling you, I used to have them. Like I'm going to do this and do that. I have goals, but I'm not going to be I have SMART goals for this year. And then, like I said, I'm really interested in like learning more. I want to be more physically like well, you know, and so like being physically well, taking care of my body, eating well, that's huge on like my mental health and everything. So that's something I'm investing in. And then financial wellness, that's the other area that I'm huge on this year. But in terms of like career goals, I do want to really badly like have an organization that I can run the way that I want to see change in the world. And I was texting another friend yesterday and it's like, I want to do all these things. And he texted me this morning. It's Jason Soul. He's super great. Shout out to him. But this morning he's like, maybe you should hone it down on some of the things. And not in a mean way. He said it really nicely, so I'm paraphrasing. But he's like, maybe you should really focus on some SMART goals, because it sounds like you kind of want to like do all these things. And it's like, I do. But yeah, like in terms of goals for the next few years, I definitely want to keep developing myself and being like the best version of myself. And then hopefully I'll be able to have an organization that will do the same, or a movement that will do the same. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Otherwise, I'm podcasting, chilling, loving my life, you know?
I love it. Callie, how about you?
So when I was 18, so I told you this, Olivia, already.
Yeah.
So remember when I was like wondering why my dad let me go down to Georgia? Well, apparently I told him I was going to become a doctor. He still remembers to this day that I had made that promise. I had long forgotten that I made such a promise. I probably forgot that.
You be a doctor, Kelly?
Yeah. I told him that I was going to be a doctor, because my dad's always had that. I mean, you know, he has 8 kids, you know, like he's like, there's bound to be somebody who could be a doctor for me. And so I guess I promised him that I would be a doctor. And I mean, you know, I think that I of course I wanted to make my parents happy, and I wanted to do as best as I could, like growth wise, you know. And then, you know, I went and got married when I was 19, and, you know, that all went out the door. Forgot that promise I made to my dad and stuff. But, you know, I think one of the things that I remember growing up that my parents always said was that that it's harder for us to compete with MECA people when it comes to being in business, you know. And so that's something that, you know, it's just kind of like one of those, like, you know, like when someone says you're not going to be able to do something, then you're like, ooh, now I want to do it, you know? So I'm kind of like a reverse psychology kind of person. Like, don't tell me what to do. Tell me the opposite, you know? And then I'll be like, well, maybe I'll do it. And so I remember that growing up, and I always, you know, part of me always felt like, you know, I am curious now, you know, like, can I really like compete with like, you know, somebody that, 其实比你do好啊. And so that's kind of what got me into like business and accounting. And then going through accounting, you know, all my peers, like when I first entered, for some reason, they were just all like, you know, came from like money, you know, like lots of connections. And I, you know, coming from like a poor family, you know, I always saw that. Even like when I played soccer, like most of my, you know, I felt like most of the people that I played soccer with had money, you know, and you know, I remember my soccer coach asking me and another Hmong girl, like, if we need assistance with like, you know, uniforms and stuff like that, you know, like, and I remember feeling like she asked just us two and not anyone else. I mean, separately, of course, not like in front of everyone, but, you know, there's a lot of things I just recognized when I was younger, that we were poor and we didn't have money. And so, you know, for me, it was always like, yeah, I want to make a lot of money, you know, because then I want to be able to like help my family and just like as a measurement of like, you know, like it's just something that you can measure, right? And so I did play soccer too. And so but like you know, like just remembering my dad saying that, and then when I got, you know, like enter public accounting and seeing all my peers where they had a lot of connections, and they were able to, you know, like I remember just knowing somebody who like was able to enter like as a starting person, when you bring in a new client, I can't remember if you get like 10%, right? Like 10% of you know, a new client. So like if you bring in a new client and that was like, you know, like $400,000 a client, like you get 10% of that, you know? And so like as a new staff, like recognizing that people have those connections, I didn't have any of those connections, right? And so like having to like work hard at that. And so I had kind of thought that, you know, it was already like a path laid out for me. So I thought if I had stayed in Georgia, I probably would have just tried to make partner and kind of live that life, you know. Of course, life kind of took a different kind of turn, but I still stayed in accounting, and you know, I enjoy what I do. You know, I think that I'm able to help in different ways, and I think for now it's just like continue to grow that and like to see where I can continue to go with that. And I'm like super excited about that. Just, strengthening myself and my connections and relationships and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Callie, you're gonna help me with my financial goals this year?
What was that? What was that?
I said, are you gonna help me with my financial goals
I
this year?
can, yes. Definitely.
Oh.
How about you, Olivia?
I think for me, it's kind of like I feel like different things, like different stages of my life impacts me in different ways, and it makes me reevaluate my why. I think kind of like just growing up and being hungry, it's always like I was always looking for a promotion. And I was fucking, let's be real, I still am, right? It's like I'm always looking for like this next big thing for me. But I think it wasn't until I had my kids where I like really had to like reassess that and was like, because I was in retail management for like 5-6 years and I loved it. I mean, it was fun. I worked with all young people. I didn't have kids. We would like work and then go hang out later. And it was fun. But after I had kids, it was kind of like, I don't want that lifestyle anymore. Like I don't want to work weekends. And I had to quit school when I was younger because then I had to work full time to help my mom pay for bills because she was getting sick. And so I didn't finish school. And so it was the great opportunity for me to like really reassess and say, well, what do I want to go back to school for? Like, what is it that I'm passionate about? And kind of like right around that time was when my mom got really sick. And so I was in the hospital with her a lot and just kind of saw like the disparities between like in the healthcare industry overall, right? Like just how someone like my mom who doesn't speak English is being treated versus like the Mika lady right next to her, and like when I'm there, like talking to her, like they would come in and tell us to quiet down or like I can't bring certain foods in because they think it smells, just like different things. And like you start to see like, dang, there's just so much crap that happens in the healthcare field where you're just like, I want to change that. So I did go to school to get my undergrad in healthcare. Obviously, I ain't trying to be no doctor because I faint at the sight of blood. So or like, kung namin raw Tuesday, like, well, do you be I just cannot.
Okay, that's not the feel for you.
Yeah, I was like, heck no, I will not be a doctor. I will not be a nurse. I will not be an MA or CPA or CNA or whatever, right? Like, I can't do that. But that's not even where the change happens, and it's so like once you start learning about like healthcare, it's kind of like the change actually happens on the admin side, like you start looking at like the chief operating officers and the VPs, and those are the decision makers for the organization. And so in order for me to get there, it's kind of like I don't have any idea about healthcare. So I took an entry level position, I worked my way up, and I started working with executives as a project manager on a lot of the things. And I managed a program called Operational Excellence. And I loved it because it focused exactly about that. It focused a lot on, things that we need to do as a healthcare industry to really better the service that we provide for all of our patients, regardless of age, race, gender, whatever it may be. But then I left healthcare because, our department got restructured and they just said, nope, you're no longer here. So I had to look for something to provide for my family. So now I'm with the state of Oregon, but still doing the same type of work, right? Like really working with executives to make decisions, better decisions. And I think that's kind of what I love, regardless of whether that's in healthcare or anything else, right? Because if you have a certain set of skills that you can help leaders make better business decisions or just better choices for people, I think that is huge. And I used to be really scared because I'm kind of like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. But one of the biggest advice my boss gave me was, why are you scared? Right? Like you're in the room for a reason. Like you are the expert, not them. They're the expert in what they're doing. And they want you at the table because you add value. So don't be scared just because you don't hold an executive title or that you're not a part of the C-suite or that you're not a VP or whatever it is. they're just titles. These people, they don't know anything about what you know. So that's why you're in there. And I think that was like the best advice anybody has ever given me, where I'm just like, you're right. Homegirl does not know what I know. She may be like the VP of whatever, but she has no idea what, what I bring to the table and what I'm able to do for her, And I think just like once you realize that, after that, I was like, okay, I'm game. Like I can talk to anybody. I don't care if you're, the CEO of whatever. I think it's just a matter of like knowing what you bring to the table, right? And so I think for me, it's career wise, it's really just learning as I go about who I am and what I'm able to bring to the table, and being able to say no and walk away, because that's not what you're worth, So I'm continuing to grow every day, honestly, in my career. It's continuously finding and reassessing like my why. I think that's really important, for people, because I may not be happy in what I'm doing now, but I think my why is still there, is helping people to make better decisions, to better serve our community or the people of Oregon, or whether it just be patients who are sick. So I think that my why is still there. I just have a stronger why for healthcare. But I would highly encourage everybody to always reassess your why, of why you are in your job. Do you enjoy it? Like, what's the purpose behind it? Because that makes a huge difference on your mental health after work,
That's so
Yeah,
true.
and like you're spending like 40 hours a week somewhere.
Yeah.
You better be happy. 40 plus hours
Exactly.
sometimes. And like you should also live like outside your job too. Like that,
Yeah.
I'm like so huge on my job is so important to me. I am like when I'm there, I'm there. Like 40 hours, I love it. Like I'm invested in it. But then outside of work, I'm also invested in that. Like if COVID was horrible and scary, but if I lost my job, I mean, we have security because there's always going to be a need for what we're doing. But if I didn't have it, or if I got like fired, God forbid, I've never been fired from a job, but if I did, I what do I have outside of that job? Like that's another aspect of things that I look at too, because
Absolutely.
but yeah, Kelly, you were gonna say something. Sorry.
No, like just like I mean along the same lines is yeah, like definitely be loyal, but you also have to always be polishing yourself, right? Because we are all replaceable, like no matter where we are, we're all replaceable, and so you work for someone else, but you also always continue to work on your dreams, and especially like I know I'm not going to retire here. Like I'm just not ready to like feel like this is it, right? Like every single day I'm going down to Salem and doing my like that. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that just sounds horrible. As much as I love my workplace, it's just like I'm not ready to like die there yet, and so it's definitely just knowing and continue to like grow yourself and want more. I definitely feel like that's something that it's just really important for me. Again, I feel like I'm just in my prime like working years, and I was talking to somebody and they're like, well, like you could have a better work-life balance. I'm like, actually, like I'm in my prime working age right now, like I want to like grow, and I think the great thing like of our three stories is that we're in different spaces and we need people in all of these spaces, because I feel like there's a lot of kids that are coming after us going to whole different spaces. And like, when we grew up, we didn't have anybody that was before us, right? Like to mentor us. And I always like kind of look at myself and like my Mika counterparts of like how much mentorship they have, like how much people like follow and pull them, and I feel like really privileged, for us like three to be at where we are so that we can help people that have questions about our fields and be able to like follow and pull them. And I've definitely hired Hmong people, which I'm really proud of to be able to do, but that also means having like, a pool of folks that are qualified and that you can actually be able to help and stuff. And so it's definitely just a privilege to have all these opportunities that we do have.
Yeah. I also wanted to note too, Sheng, like I was joking earlier about like you not having goals 5 years, 10 years from now, but I also want to note that it's okay if you don't have them, because I as heck did not have any throughout like my early 20s. I didn't know where I was going. And like I said, like my goals change depending on all the shit that happens in my life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like if my mom was not sick, I probably would have never even really cared to be interested in healthcare, honestly. But I'm really grateful that I've learned so much along the way, and I know that decisions are made with the administration piece of healthcare, not with like the nurses. Obviously the way they treat patients makes a huge difference, but there are ways that we can implement things to make sure that they do not treat patients that way, right? And so
Yeah.
I think just, for people listening, and I think for, people who are going straight out from high school, like it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, because we sure as hell are still trying to discover that ourselves. And we're changing and growing every day. And so I just want to say that if you don't know, or if you don't have goals within like the next 5 years or 10 years or whatever it may be, it's okay. Like, don't stress over it. I think we just take it day by day, and we learn about ourselves, and we just figure out, try to explore, right? Like try new things. Like I didn't think that I was going to love like project management or portfolio management and helping execs, but shit, that's where I ended up. I thought I have no idea what I wanted to do. Like at the point when I was in retail management, I thought I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I love this job. But then after I had kids, I'm like, I hate this fucking job. Like, I hate folding clothes. And that is why my husband does laundry. Kid you not. Because I fold clothes. Like I don't usually, I'm not the one folding, but I'm pretty fast. So when I'm done with what I'm doing, I'm helping my employees, so we can get out of there. So I hated folding clothes. I hated doing laundry. So my husband does laundry for me. That's one thing I am thankful for, though, at least, because yeah. But, just know that you don't have to know exactly what you want to do. It's okay. But, just continue to self-discover, what your skills are and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, and just try different things. Like, I think when I look back in my 20s, I think that that's one of the things that, because I felt like I kind of like put my feet out and did a little bit, but I felt like I was still very insecure about stuff. And so now it's just like, just do it, like, so what if you mess up, like just do it. Just put yourself out there, and just if there's something if I want to take pictures all the time, shoot, I'm gonna take pictures all the time, if I want someone to take pictures of me, I'm gonna ask, and hoping they'll take pictures of me, but
we know, Callie, we know.
but like, because I remember when I started blogging, like, so I used to run a lot, and I had this running blog, and I was like getting to the point where I was like getting free stuff, but I remember not telling anybody about my running blog, and that was like, I don't know, I felt like that was like in 2009, 10, so really, really early on, before this idea of like self, like very self-centered kind of mentality where you have YouTube channels and stuff. And I just remember, like having like this online running blog community, and like not telling anybody at work, and being scared that,
Wait,
like,
was this Zynga?
No, this was
Okay.
I was on Blogger, but I do remember Zynga. I did have
Was it Asian Town? Asian
no. So this was like Blogspot. So I had a running blog that was on Blogspot. And so, but like I was running a lot, and I would write on my blog. I would run with people. We would like talk back and forth like with these strangers on the internet. And I just remember being scared that people are going to go on, people I know, like I can say this to people I don't know, but like people I know might go on and read my stuff, and I just remember feeling like conscious about that. And now I feel like, like I'm not as scared to like just try different things and like put myself out there. And so I feel like I wish I'd just been, a little bit more like, if I want to do something, just doing it.
Yeah. It's therapeutic to just do stuff. Like,
it's
creative, and it's an expression of who you are. And I think that's absolutely okay. I mean, it is hard sometimes to put yourself out there, but as you can tell, I'm huge on social media, because I'm like huge on like, this is truly who I am. Like I represent everything I put out is really like some, people and things that I care about. And so like putting myself out there the way I am right now, like years ago, I probably wouldn't have done. But now it's like, I don't know. I'm just like, it is what it is. You don't like it, just unfollow me or unfriend me. But it's who I am, and it's what I want to put out there too. And so I like that. Do we still have that blog available, Callie? I want to go back. I want to read some of that.
Me and my shorts I got that a vendor sent to me.
Hey, I'm down. Like,
So
that's
funny.
interesting.
Yeah, can you imagine if we didn't start like all that talk, Olivia, right? And like Shane with your podcast, like if you've been like, what if people see me and they're like, what are they doing? Like, why are they going on and talking?
Yeah.
Like if we had not done that. And I feel like I'm glad that we totally did that and just went for it, because I think a lot of great things have come to happen.
But it
Yeah, and
is
I think
scary though, right? Like it was so scary, like to put yourself out there. Like I didn't know like how people were going to respond, and like sometimes when people didn't respond you thought like, am I not interesting, am I like just what am I doing, and you questioned it a lot. But then now I'm in a place where it's like you watch or don't watch, because no matter, even if like 3 people watches, like my 3 friends watch, I am so proud of my content. I am so proud of what I'm putting out there. It is a true extension of who I am. Before I would have been like, wait, is somebody going to watch this? Like I don't create any at all anymore for anyone but myself. Like that is the biggest thing, is this is a archived like journey of my growth. Like, everything that I'm doing now, I'm trying to push myself more and more to do better. And I'm sure you two feel the same way, like all the content you two are putting out, like mind blowing. Like it's insane, like how creative and thoughtful and considerate. Like I don't think people realize this unless they do it. How much work goes into a single episode? How much work goes into all of what you are doing? Like you both fly out to other like state to do content. Like it's insane, the organization that it requires for like the Love Vault, or like even like your Charm series. Like everything that you do takes so much time and consideration. I don't think people get that. And so aside from that, it's like you love it too. So it's not for people, like it is for people, but it's more for you, because it's truly like just a creative way that you can express yourself. And so you two are
it's
doing
almost like a documentary of like our lives outside of our 9 to 5.
Yes.
Talking about growth, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a documentary about growth,
Yeah. I mean, I think even like when we first started doing the show, it was kind of like like you don't want to share the things. But now it's kind of like when we do something, I always like text my family members. I'm like, y'all better share this. Go share it so that we can reach your network. But before I would have never done that, because you're just kind of like, oh, and even now, like when people recognize us like that we're from All That Talk, it still kind of feels really like surreal, because for us it's just like we were just really doing it to kind of like keep ourselves busy during COVID. And then also like share our perspectives too, right? Because, like we all go through different things in our lives where we're kind of like, man, like if I feel this way, I know there are other monk sisters who also feel this way. And, I think like, I know I shared this with Callie and Sheng when we had first started, but it's like I have friends who are not Hmong, that they're Asian, and they also understand some of the struggles that I go through, because we're very similar in our culture and our culture beliefs and religion. But it's just not the same as if like Hmong sister Tana, like I have a lot of Mika friends too, where they understand, but they don't give me the same like reaction that I wanted, where they're just like, yes, I understand where you're coming from. Yes, like my mom does that too, and I feel like when I first met Callie, it was just so easy to talk to her, because even though we were, Callie was married to a non-Hmong person, but she also went through a lot of the same struggles I did growing up, and so I feel like it was just a lot easier. And I'm like, why don't we just like go on live? Well, originally we wanted to do a show in studio. It just didn't work out, but I'm really happy that it didn't. But it's just more of like, if you can resonate with me and I can resonate with you, I'm sure that other Hmong sisters can resonate with our own stories and our struggles. And so I think just like not being ashamed of that, I think when we first started, we were a little shy still. But now it's just kind of like, I don't give. Like I text my family like, y'all better share this. It's like we're making a few dollars now, so you better subscribe,
That's right.
So I think it's just like being proud of the work and the content that you put out. And honestly, it still feels a little like embarrassing or shy when we do those silly ass content, but it's so funny. But I mean, I don't know about Callie. She's just like our video that we did with the exercise, Callie was like, oh yeah, let's just do it. And I still felt like a little embarrassed to do it, But at the end of the day, after we put it all together, it's kind of like this show is hilarious. Like, but we had a really good time doing it, you know.
Just so many memories you two have made. You know?
So we're also creating memories, you know, like the drop low video. We went to the gas station, and it was just so weird. The Asian guy was like, because my sister's in-laws, they sell flowers in front of the store, so you know we had a connection that way. But it was really nice of him to let us do it in his store and at the gas station and stuff. But you know, it felt silly, but it was really fun.
It's just,
you know,
fun. Like you just go out of your comfort zone. Who cares? You know?
Yeah,
you're not hurting nobody.
Yeah, or like, what did I say? You know, that was funny too.
Yeah, it definitely helps you to grow and not get scared. And then I think just having each other too, right? Because like if one person's like, inside, the other person's like, okay, let's just do it. Then you're just like, fuck it, we gotta do it. You know? Right. So I think that really helps. But it's funny to have people like, you don't realize who's watching it. Like I had like some people screenshot like the marshmallow, you know, when we do the marshmallow, they like screenshot it and sent it to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, I know people are watching it, but I forget who's watching it, right? Until like they say something, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so embarrassing. But I feel like that's been fun to kind of show our, you know, just like who we are too, because we do come on the show and it is pretty serious when we do a regular episode, but we're also people who, you know, I think have kind of a sense of humor and, you know, kind of like we're funny too.
Okay, you two are hilarious, first of all. Like, don't even. You both are so funny. And like, I think people, they don't tune in because of just the marshmallow challenges and, you know, the drop it low challenges and all that stuff. They tune in because of you two. You know, you two have built something that is very special and very unique. Like, you don't have 10,000 plus subscribers for nothing. You know what I mean? Like
12,000.
12,000. Okay. Well, it's the 10,000 plus, right? So world, me and Kelly are friends. Okay, we're not actually.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
No, but like you aren't just like you built a huge platform in just a few years. You know, Kelly, we were talking about this at brunch, and I was like, "Dang it, I need to get to 10,000 followers. 3 months, I need to make some money." Like, you know, but like I joke, but it's also like
it takes time.
It right now, you're in this space right now. Like everything you're doing, like it's super fun. It's super great. But it's also people come and they tune in because you two are just like amazing, like hilarious. People are engaged in like.
And she's not getting paid to say all this, so just FYI,
I am getting paid. They're Venmoing me later.
Down, would you?
No, I think we all just bring something different that other people can, you know, relate to, whether that's our personality or our stories or Callie's red hair, whatever it may be. You know, it's like it's just like we bring something a little bit different, and I think just a platform for people too, because you know, like I always tell people, like you don't need to be famous to be on our show. You really don't. Like we will bring on anybody. Like
clearly, I'm on their show, guys.
No,
so
stop. But you know, I think just like because like us, it's kind of like if we can resonate with each other, then someone else can also resonate with your story or your passion or whatever it is that you want to talk about and shine light to. And so I think just really providing that platform for our Hmong brothers and sisters, because I'm not gonna lie, we do have some real, like our Hmong brothers and sisters are so fucking smart and intelligent and like super talented. And I think just like, you know, giving them a space to kind of share their passion is awesome. Because I think for me, it's kind of like growing up, like Oli Kelly High, like we've never had mentors or people before to kind of be like, oh, hey, this is so cool, right? And so now that technology is so advanced and we are able to do that, like, why not? You know, like talk about it. And honestly, you guys, the world is so freaking small. You know, like before
it's so
our
big,
show,
but so small. Like
before our show, it was kind of like we were in this like very enclosed Hmong community here in Portland, and that's all I ever knew, you know. And then once we started doing the show and I started meeting Hmong people from Fresno and Minnesota, Wisconsin, it's like we all freaking are related somehow. We all know each other, or we know someone you know, in common, and it's such a small world. And it's just kind of like we just have to support each other, you know, because we're growing as Hmong people, but because we are so connected at the same time, it's so important for us to really like get out of our little circle and get to meet people and network and find people who can support you in your passions and your why. So
Yeah.
I love what we do. I love what you do. I love anyone who's kind of in the same space that we are, that are Hmong, providing that, that space for our Hmong brothers and sisters. And I think really just any topic that impacts us overall as human beings.
I just have to say, like, I have, I just have so much respect for how far we've come as Hmong
Yeah.
people. It's
Yep.
insane. Like, I look at all the music and all these artists that are
Mm-hmm.
like, they hang better than the best right now in the mainstream. Like
Yeah.
the music they create and like how they produce their sound and like how they really work at their craft. I'm like, holy man, like I'm
Yeah.
such a huge fan. Like I cannot believe like how far we've come in that regard. And
Girl,
then I
that's
look
why
at
I
like
fly everywhere
politics,
to
you
support
know?
them. Yeah, that's why I fly
Yes.
everywhere to support them when I can.
Hmm.
Um, it's funny because I just had a chat with ZPX not too long ago where we were talking about something and I'm like, he's like, you're everywhere. And I'm like, I know, because I like you guys.
Yeah.
I fly out to support you as much as I can, right? Because if no one comes to your show, you don't get paid either.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure we
And I'm
support each
huge
other.
on like artists should get paid in general, but Hmong artists, like that's something I'm like really passionate about right now is,
Yeah,
like I've just really enveloped myself more in like Hmong music and musicians. The city's an hour and a half from here, and a lot of like the best artists are in that area. And like
yeah,
here, like we bring them to Ojusi, a local like Hmong owned restaurant, Xavier, who's like the best. He brings in all these artists and like I'm just like, gosh, man, like the environment and like the shows they put, it's like on another level. It's like you can't even compare.
yeah,
And so like one of the things I'm really passionate about is not only elevating and like helping artists, like Hmong artists in a space where like they can grow and thrive, but like they should get paid for that. Like
yeah,
I'm looking at some of my other like Mika like artists, like they get paid 3 times more. I'm like, that's not acceptable for the same
yeah,
gig. Like that is not acceptable. Like I just did this recently with a Hmong artist, and like he knows who he is. He's amazing, but like it's like, dude, I just got you 3 times more because I know like the money exists, and
mhm,
like that's just something too that sometimes you actually like some Hmong artists work harder because they have to like break through certain like barriers and things, and they travel and like I don't know. I just respect Hmong artists so much and the music that we create, but just in general, like politics, I look at a lot of that too, and like we don't even need to talk about like all the people who are in the news and stuff that are Hmong, but it's just we've just come such a long way. I'm just so proud to
yeah,
be a part of the Hmong community.
That's
yeah,
so true. Like for I think for a lot of the musicians for what they do, right, working like regular jobs while still doing their craft on the side. I just sometimes I imagine what they could do if they could do that full time, right? Or like how
And get paid for it.
or the producers
mhm,
or all of that stuff. And I think that it's important for us to continue to cultivate that and to ensure that keeps happening and that they're paying what they're worth. So I want to end with this last question since we are on this topic. So what does it mean to you to be part of the Hmong community?
It means everything. Like it truly does. Like being a part of the Hmong community is defined so differently. I think it used to be defined pretty like template wise. For me, being a part of the Hmong community is that this is a huge part of my identity, like the
yeah,
values, the belief systems, like the way I treat people, the way I connect with others isn't because of just experiences. It is truly because I'm Hmong. Like these are our traditions. Like we love people so much, and in our community, if somebody's suffering, we're all suffering, and we come to the table and we help them out. I love our community so much. It's so unique to other like communities. I was with one of my friends. He's Mexican. We're like our like cultures are very similar,
yep,
but they're also really really different. And like
mhm,
it's different because like Hmong people, we just take care of each other. Like we talked earlier about some of the criticisms, some things. Like every community has some stuff that like we can work on, but
yeah,
no community is like the Hmong community. Like
mhm,
just there's nothing like it. And like for me to be able to be a part of it, like a huge part of my identity was like I grew up like very whitewashed, around a lot of like Mika people, and a lot of my friends are like like they're very Montblonua, and I was like so poor, you know. And so I kind of like thought that was like how I should adapt, is like to be more white. Oh my gosh, I'm like so like thankful now that like I'm so identified with my Hmong part of who I am, that like being in this community is everything. Like not just because we can speak another language and like talk about people in front of them, but like it's I don't do that, guys. I really don't. But it's also just the it's also just the fact that like the way we can talk to each other, and we talk about our mom and our dad and our culture, and like people, like you just get it. There, you can't explain it to another person from a different race, another person from a different culture or heritage. Like to be Hmong is like everything. It's so amazing. I'm just like I'm proud to be Hmong. I'm like a very proud Hmong woman. But yeah, like I'm sure you two feel the same way. You know, like you've assimilated to certain things, but that identity is core to who you are. You know.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me too. It's really, it means everything. I think it means showing support. I think it means participating, even when you don't want to just to show support to people. You know, I think that that's so important. I think Sheng, you said it best. It's like we help each other out. You know, I think that's like the biggest thing for me is like, even though like Letitia Eugene or you, but they're always willing to, you know, give you a helping hand, lend a helping hand. And I think that's what I love most is that I've met a lot of like strangers who have become friends, um, who have become good friends through this journey of self-discovery of like who I am and my Hmong identity. And I love that. I think that being Hmong is so special. And like you, I also grew up really, I wouldn't say I was like whitewashed. I tried to be. I had a lot of white friends growing up. Mainly because you know, there's not a lot of Hmong people here like there is in like, you know, the heavier populated Hmong cities. But you know, I had a lot of white friends, and I didn't really appreciate who I was when I was younger. I was embarrassed to wear Hmong clothes. So I didn't go to the New Year one year because my mom was like, if you ain't wearing it, you ain't going. I'm like, fine, I ain't wearing it. So I didn't go. And you know, I think just like growing up and like really through that self-discovery of like who I was, how I should act like or talk like, and just finding who I am, I think it's really important that I've now found like being Hmong is fucking awesome. You know, like we are the shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like
Yeah.
I've met a lot of Hmong brothers and sisters where I'm like, dang, like we are legit awesome.
We're
Like I
killing
don't
it
know
out
how
here,
else.
first of all.
Yeah. I'm just like we have gone through, we're just such resilient people overall, right? Like our parents, our grandparents, us, our kids, hopefully. Um, you know, where we just kind of go through everything and yet we're still here, we're still standing, we're still proud of who we are. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we can change in our cultural practices, but there's still also a lot of things other people could change in their cultural
Of
practices too,
course.
right? And so
I mean,
I
our
think
parents and
like
grandparents went through a war, no big deal. And like, look at, they raised us so that we can be like
yeah,
all of what we can be. We're like
yeah,
not suffering the way that they suffer because they suffered for us.
yeah.
You know, I will
Yeah.
never forget
Yep.
like all the generations before us to be able to be here right now. Like it's just
Yeah.
they went through a war. Like they're products
Yeah.
of trauma and like insane like conditions on a refugee
Yeah.
camp, and we didn't have to
Yep.
go through that, and they went through
Yeah.
that for us. You know, I will never
Exactly.
forget that. And so yeah, Hmong people are
Yeah.
definitely thriving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why it's so like it means everything that we are Hmong, that we are part of that Hmong community, that we support that Hmong community, we support the Hmong people, and we love our people, even the ones that are toxic, even though we don't associate ourselves with them. That doesn't mean I still don't support you.
There's toxic people
Honestly,
in every
It's
situation.
true,
I
yeah.
know. I
We're
always
all a
tell
little
my yeah, like exactly. I always tell my husband, I was like, well, just because I don't like them doesn't mean I don't like their kids. Like if their kids call me, I'd be like, yes, I'm right there for you. You know, because they're still my nieces and nephews. That doesn't mean I don't like, or distant cousins, you know, that doesn't mean I don't support them. It's like if they call me for something, I would still like, you know, help them as to the best of my ability. It's just that I don't like to be in the presence of their parents or whoever I don't like. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
how about
been
you, Callie?
I've been teaching some of these kids overseas, and I feel like that's been really like a good reminder for me of just like what my parents went through. And I think just seeing, oh gosh, like and I've spoken about this before, so Libby, you've heard this, but I think it gives me so much like strength to just see and remember, like you said, Shane, what our parents went through. And I think seeing the kids, overseas and how much they want the opportunities, I think that for me, like, has given me so much in terms of purpose and like why I'm here and why I have to continue to keep trying and like growing and pursuing, because I always think about like I could be like in Thailand right now, like married with kids and struggling and doing having a different kind of life. But here I am, and I have to take advantage of these opportunities. And hopefully one day I'll be able to like make, the impact that I have in my dreams to be able to make, and I just feel like giving back is so important. And being able to, just give to people, because we are very privileged. And I mean, I have a lot of first world problems, and so I think just recognizing that and being able to see, that, hey, like some of these things that I deal with are very minor, and, remembering like the big picture and the vision of what I have and trying to strive for that. And so, I think that like we are, we are a free people, especially in the US, and we have to recognize that, and we have to take hold of that, and take up space and be loud and be heard, which again is why I do love seeing just more people who are outspoken and who do speak up for what they believe in and are themselves like that. I totally support that. And so that's what I feel like that for me is what it means. It's just being myself and continue to strive so that one day I can give back.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, this pretty much concludes our show for tonight. Do y'all have any last words? Shane, we loved having you on and just having this chat. I know we went through a lot of different things, and but really enjoy getting to hear more about your story and your experiences.
And thank you both for having me. Like, this has been a long time coming, and definitely a lot more collaborations to come. Like, having like sharing space and like being in a conversation with you two is just, it makes me feel like I'm at home. Like people get like it's like trauma bonding. People get how like
It
you
is.
two just understand podcasting. You two understand what it is to be a Hmong woman. You two understand like our generation, and so to be able to like sit here and talk about all these things and like the growth that we've had, like I've had it in the last hour and a half. So I appreciate you two so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of like you said, it is kind of like trauma bonding, like just talking to people who are in the same space who understands.
Yeah.
I'm all about that. And that's why I shared earlier where it's like I have a lot of other different types of friends, but it's just not the same. Like you don't get the same responses. They may nod their head and say, yeah, I understand, but it's like, but they don't understand at the same time. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thank goodness for the internet, right? And Facebook. It feels sometimes like we're a big family. It feels like high school sometimes in the Hmong community. It's like knowing everyone and then like just I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope that you're able to relate and be able to take away some things from the show tonight. Loved again having you, Sheng, on. Thank you for being in this space with us and for sharing and being open. Of course, here at All That Talk, we believe that conversations drive change, and change starts with you. With that, we will see you next time. Have a good night.
Bye.